Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The last person Cain expects could be the one to bring him down. According to spoilers on The Young and the Restless, one individual may have the secret to Cain Ashby's demise. Everyone has been attempting to figure out how to thwart Cain's crazy plot to take over the majority of Genoa City's companies ever since he was brought back to the city. Maybe the solution has always been there. Cain Ashby's other son, what happened to him? Charlie and Maddie Ashby. Where is Sam, Cain's son? Naturally, Cain cheated on Lily by having an affair with Juliet Helton. Why hasn't Cain brought up Sam once since he returned? And where is he now? No one has inquired about him either, to be honest. But Sam might hold the secret to regaining control of Cain. Would Sam be the one to control Cain and return him to Earth? Is Sam able to stop the danger to the Port Charles companies? What impact could Sam Ashby have? Sam would technically turn 8 next month. But since soap operas frequently cause children to experience soap opera rapid aging syndrome, Sam may already be an adult or at least a teenager with some pretty strong opinions about Cain and his blatant greed. Sam might just be curious as to why his father is never content. Dad, do you think this BS with the fake name and constant attempts to steal everyone's company is going to win you any points with Lily? Is what Sam would remark. Even though I've only gone on 2 dates in my entire life, I know that's not the best approach to win a girl over. Cain's son, what happened to him? There was no indication that Cain was with him when he was visiting his father, so what happened to him? Neither Cain nor anybody else who ought to have brought up his son has done so. Has Cain sent his son to boarding school? And where is he now? Was the child lost? Where is this child, and why isn't his viewpoint important? He couldn't have vanished from the face of the planet. Is it feasible that Sam is missing because he doesn't want to be around Lily and her children? Has Cain abandoned him for someone else merely to keep him content and out of his way? After all, will Sam unexpectedly arrive in Genoa City and face his father? Cain gives the mysterious warning. Chelsea, played by Melissa Claire Egan on The Young and the Restless photo, CBS. Christine was taken by surprise by Danny at the jazz lounge. Their plans with Lauren and Michael were different. Lauren swiftly followed and informed everyone that she didn't want to be seated next to Michael at their wedding or at the time after they chose to combine the plans into a couple's night out. Michael immediately interrupted and declared, "I'm not sure fun is the right word for that combination." Tension seems to have persisted since Michael and Victor had resumed their covert collaboration. Jack admitted to Diane that he was unaware Victor would start a full-scale public offensive on Cain. Both of them thought it was careless, and Jack thought Cain might take additional offense. Jack turned to face Jill as she entered his office before he continued with Diane, and he joked that he was finally on her list of people to see. She wouldn't be in Genoa City for long. Jill said Jack, so he had to make the most of her stay. Adam and Chelsea reveled in the triumph of the exposé at Newman Media. An all-time spike in site traffic indicated that the change was a wise business decision. When Cain knocked on their door, the atmosphere abruptly altered, even though Adam told Chelsea it was the most fun he had had in a long time. "Did you enjoy our article?" he asked Cain in true Adam fashion. The abrupt conflict between Michael and Lauren was difficult for Danny and Christine to comprehend. When Christine insisted on knowing what was happening, Lauren betrayed Michael by telling them that she had forced her husband to tell them the truth about his agreement with Cain. Even though she begged him not to, Michael continued to lie to her, making her feel as though he did it every day. It wasn't just a straightforward task with Cain, it was also another dubious and covert agreement with Victor. Michael justified his actions and said he wanted to protect everyone in Genoa City. Lauren argued, "Every time you tell me that you are over, that you are done with Victor forever, all he does is just snap his little fingers, and you go running to be by his side." He felt that Lauren's ire was unjust since he shouldn't be held accountable for his attempt to avert a catastrophe. Given Billy and Kane's predicament, Jack found it hard to believe Jill was already leaving town. Jill explained that her brief visit was due to a medical procedure. Jack, though, voiced reservations about including Jill if she had health problems. Jack was informed by Jill that his plan had not succeeded. "If your plan was a mother and son reunion, it was a big fat failure," she stated. Billy was obviously irritated that Jill went directly to Kane, even though she shouldn't have been surprised. Adam boasted to Kane about their accomplishment. Kane gave him a blank look when he inquired if he wanted to comment for the record. Kane found the article intriguing, but he rejected the veracity of any assertions. He noted that Adam liked to poke fun at him, but he warned them that they would soon face legal action. He maintained that a defamation case was imminent and that none of it was true. Jill and Jack hoped Billy wouldn't view Kane as a rival, but Jack demonstrated to her that her approach suggested otherwise. How she could have foreseen any other possibility was beyond his comprehension. The humiliation and public disgrace deepened the divide. Billy and none of them got along well, and while it was common, things have gotten worse. Jack believed that cutting Billy off entirely was the only way to save him. Jill noted that neither could carry out the decision to permanently cut Billy off, even if it was the wisest course of action for him. Chelsea wondered how Kane could have been oblivious to Colin's last scam. As a former herself, Kane made the observation that Chelsea was unable to understand his perspective. Chelsea gestured for Adam to back off as he prepared for a more serious altercation with Kane. Kane questioned whether Adam simply followed his father's instructions or if he had any concrete evidence to support their publicized assertions. Danny and Christine had to step in as Michael and Lauren's argument got out of hand. They separated the troubled pair and asked them to sit in the hopes of making things better. Christine took charge, while Danny took up Lauren's work. He didn't comprehend Lauren's issue because he wasn't working for Kane or Victor. Christine remembered that, unlike Michael, none of her previous interactions with Victor had resulted in her being imprisoned in South America. Christine was aware of Michael's intense desire to go back to Victor and fix the damage, but he reminded her that his allegiance to the town was also there, even though he acknowledged that to be true. He acted after spotting a chance to protect everyone from danger. Lauren confided in Danny that she felt abandoned and left to worry about everything. She thought Victor would eventually present Michael with some threat that would cause him to die. She told Danny how working for Victor almost broke them and how he rushed back to his old boss when things were finally improving. She didn't think Michael prioritized their family in any way. Danny believed that Michael was acting morally, therefore he defended him. In an effort to avoid wedding trouble, Lauren tried to twist Danny's case, but her accusations were swiftly refuted. Danny did everything he could to help Lauren remember why she loved Michael. As Jack and Jill discussed how to deal with Billy, Jack reminded her of his enormous heart. Jack called Jill back to Genoa City for another reason. She didn't want to talk about Billy any longer, so she brought up Kane. But following the Newman Media effort, Jack wondered if that train was a lost cancel to keep it from going off course. Adam essentially pleaded with Kane to file a lawsuit as the altercation escalated at Newman Media. The letter gave him the impression that they were legally shielded from this. However, Adam believed that Kane would be too busy defending the fortune from those who had claims to it, so none of it mattered. Kane alluded to an exclusive story for Newman Media, specifically Chelsea, before they left their office, but it didn't sound good for the business. Jill was in the front row when Jack talked about the slander campaign against Kane. Jack believed that this would be the final straw that would lead Kane to seek retribution. He told Jill that he was not involved in any of this, but Victor's most recent escalation tactic caught him off guard as well. In an attempt to allay Jack's anxieties, Jill informed him that she thought Kane was primarily concerned with repairing the relationship with Lily and the twins. Adam questioned Kane what story he was hinting at and asked if he truly wanted to make things right, he should give up the AI program. Before leaving the office, Cain reminded Chelsea once again that he will be in contact shortly. They are a little scared of Cain's story. Lauren's treatment of Michael remained unwavering. She wanted to continue being angry at Michael and wallowing in her rage a little longer. Christine, across the lounge, attempted to explain to Michael that his main grievance was that he had been caught. He explained the reason after she reminded him of his love for his wife. The strategy of divide and conquer seemed to have some degree of success. From a hopeless situation, things changed to declarations of love between the two parties. Phyllis reappeared aboard Cain's train and declared herself prepared to implement damage control. Cain, though, was nowhere in sight. She began to pry into his room in classic Phyllis way, but he soon caught her in the act. Michael asked Danny to let him and Lauren have a private conversation. When Michael apologized to Lauren, Christine and Danny felt as though their strategy had been successful. He acknowledged that he had relapsed into an old bad habit, and he was taken aback when she apologized as well. He claimed he didn't want her to ever stop defending him, and she gave him points for showing pride in him. Going forward, they decided to look for areas of agreement and consider each other's viewpoints, including with regard to Victor. Jack wanted to know Jill's true feelings over the most recent accusations made against Colin. Jill thought Colin could have carried out the plan, but Cain denied any knowledge of it. She told Jack why she didn't believe Cain was involved. Cain is terrified that this smear on Colin's name might be true, that this man he believed was redeemed was, in fact, lying to him the whole time. That would mean that everything he created was built on lies, and that has been a huge kick in the gut. Phyllis claimed to be searching for a deck of cards, but Cain thought she was prying into the train. Phyllis insisted on knowing whether Victor had released any information and whether any or all of the rumors about Cain were accurate. Victor visited Newman and congratulated Chelsea and Adam on the article's success. He was unconcerned about the legal consequences, though. They told him about the impending story and Cain's subliminal threat. Jack reminded Jill that Cain was solely responsible for everything that occurred to him. Although Jill was aware that Jack could easily become pessimistic about this, she reassured him that Cain sincerely thought Colin had changed. Everything Cain owned would burn if it was all a lie, and he was proud of everything they had created together. Cain refused to discuss the story, despite Phyllis's attempts to elicit the truth from him. All he wanted to do was look to the future. Her question about how she fit into the equation suggested that there would be a lot of drama for the businesses in Genoa City. A drama that combines the turmoil of family, business, and the ghosts of the past. The most recent episode of The Young and the Restless is a perfect storm of treachery, confrontation, and emotional reckoning. This episode, Cain's downfall may come from the last person he expects, shows how secrets and plots cause Genoa City to quake. The emotional gravity surrounding Cain Ashby and the mystery surrounding his missing son, Sam, is what gives this drama its electric pulse, not just the corporate conflicts or scandals. As the episode progresses, it becomes evident that Cain's kingdom is based on deceit and that his own forgotten flesh and blood, rather than the Abbotts, or even Jill, may be the cause of his downfall. The return of Cain Ashby to Genoa City has sparked a fresh round of power battles and rekindled old rivalries. He has become a man on the verge of disaster as a result of his preoccupation with taking over several of Genoa City's largest companies, including Chancellor Winters and Newman Media. A more ambitious and vindictive Cain has replaced the cool, collected Cain of the past. However, beneath the surface of business animosity is something more profound. An interior split, a man tormented by unresolved transgressions and broken relationships. What will stop Cain, rather than merely who will, is the main issue that reverberates throughout the episode. The answer may lie in the absence of Sam Ashby, his son, who should have been his compass from the beginning. The presence of Sam, Cain's son with Juliet Helton, is one of the show's most underutilized plot lines, and the screenplay deftly revives it. Cain and everyone else in Genoa City have hardly spoken of Sam for years, making him a phantom in the story. Uncomfortable doubts concerning Cain's humanity are brought up by his absence. How can a man who says he fights for control over businesses and legacy forget his own child? The authors employ this silence as a riddle and a metaphor. Maybe Cain's disengagement from Sam is a reflection of his disengagement from morals. However, the show now appears ready to reintroduce Sam, who may have aged into adolescence or early adulthood by virtue of the well-known soap opera cliché known as SORAS, soap opera rapid aging syndrome. This creates a narrative goldmine. What if Cain's once neglected kid Sam ends up being the reason for his father's downfall? Consider the tragic irony of the betrayed son coming back to make his father answerable. A mature Sam might readily harbor bitterness, perplexity, and moral clarity that stand in stark contrast to Cain's avarice. He might turn out to be the conscience that Cain misplaced in the midst of his paranoia and ambition. An emotional and narrative turning point might occur if Sam were to question Cain's unrelenting craving for manipulation and control with piercing honesty. "Dad, do you really think stealing people's companies will make Mom love you again?" is the hypothetical moment in which Sam challenges his father. That would go farther than any business scandal. Cain's armor would be taken off, revealing a youngster still struggling for acceptance and troubled by his father Colin's manipulations. The episode's writers counterbalance this possible emotional turn with a complex network of side stories that intensify tension throughout Genoa City. Jessica Walton's character, Jill Abbott, makes a brief but significant return to the community. Her conversations with Peter Bergman's character Jack Abbott demonstrate her mounting concern over Cain's volatility. Jill attempts to manage the aftermath from Victor Newman's most recent campaign against Cain while balancing her parental instincts with corporate pragmatism. Jack sees Cain as a man who is collapsing under his own deceptions, and his warnings are tinged with both worry and judgment. Despite being rattled, Jill's trust does not completely give up on Cain. The scenario is made more complex by her admission that Cain might be totally destroyed by his fear of learning about Colin's last scam. Cain is being driven to the edge not only by business desire, but also by the psychological fear of discovering that he might have constructed his identity on deception. In the meantime, the emotional drama is infused with a dash of high-stakes corporate conflict through the Newman Media subplot. Chelsea Lawson, Melissa Claire Egan, and Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, celebrate the triumph of their shocking exposé regarding Cain. Cain himself enters their office, smoldering with silent wrath, appending their smug complacency. Adam's irony. Did you find our story entertaining? It is a classic Newman move that exudes superiority. Cain's threat of legal action seems baseless. He is more hurt by the embarrassment than driven by a desire for justice. The undercurrent here is fascinating. Cain's ego won't concede defeat even when his public image is collapsing. The suspense is only increased by the scene's final reference to a cryptic warning. Is Cain preparing retaliation, or is this the start of his breakdown? In another scene, Lauren Baldwin, Tracy E. Bregman, and Michael Christian LeBlanc present a subplot that reflects the episode's central theme: secrets break trust. The greater disarray is given emotional depth and domestic authenticity by their furious dispute on Michael's covert interactions with Victor. Lauren's pain, her rage that Michael continues to be drawn into Victor's circle, is well-earned. Echoing the weariness of years of unfulfilled promises, she spits out, "Every time you tell me you're done with Victor, he snaps his fingers and you go running." Even though it is a side plot, it highlights the greater issue of loyalty. How much can love withstand when deception becomes second nature? In an otherwise dishonest story, their timid and brutal eventual reconciliation provides a glimmer of optimism. The ethical flaws in Genoa City's elite are also revealed via Jack's encounters with Jill. The discussion becomes philosophical when Jill admits that she thinks Colin might have been committing another scam. Even though she is resistant, Jill seems to agree with Jack when he says that Cain's inability to confront the truth will be his downfall. It captures the agony of Cain Ashby, a man who is anxious to prove he is more than his father's history, yet is destined to repeat it. If what he built was all a lie, she adds, then everything Cain has will burn. The sense of impending disaster is heightened in the closing scenes. After sneaking onto Kane's train, Michelle Stafford's character Phyllis Summers is discovered snooping. Tension is high when the two con artists realize each other's dishonesty. Kane's next act of demise was set up by his cryptic remarks and Phyllis's assumption that he was concealing something. It's unclear if she will turn out to be an ally or an enemy, but her involvement is sure to cause additional mayhem. Victor Newman's congratulatory visit to Adam and Chelsea, meantime, highlights his role as a puppet master who pulls threads from the shadows without worrying about collateral damage. But in the midst of all the corporate intrigue, Sam's ghost, the unseen, remains at the center of the narrative. More than any of Kane's adversaries, his absence loomed. It seems as if the authors are using the void that Kane's carelessness caused to frame his moral fall. Every plot, deception, and treachery is one more step away from salvation. Maybe Sam's eventual comeback will be the mirror Kane is unable to face. Sam's presence might alter the Ashby legacy and put Kane's ability to be saved to the test if the authors really reintroduce him as an elderly, self-aware young man. By the end of the episode, Genoa City's power structure feels perilously precarious. Kane is alone since the Abbotts don't trust him. They target him, Jill doubts him, and he might be troubled by the truth about his father. The internal breakdown of a guy whose biggest struggle is with himself is just as much of a source of stress as dangers from the outside. The story's theme is inheritance, not only of wealth or business, but also of virtue. Colin's legacy and Kane's tragedy are similar in that both men risk losing everything since they built their empires on deception. In conclusion, one of the most complex episodes of The Young and the Restless in recent memory is Kane's downfall may come from the last person he expects. It creates a narrative where ambition and family relationships clash by bridging the political and the emotional, the private and the professional. Kane Ashby's path, which was characterized by pride, remorse, and denial, is now coming to an end, not through retaliation or public scandal, but rather through the emotional toll of fatherhood. The living, his neglected son, may ultimately drive him to his knees, but the ghosts of Juliet and Colin loom over him. Betrayal is the lifeblood of Genoa City, but in this instance atonement might only occur when Kane confronts his son and recognizes the man he has become in that reflection.